thanks for tuning in to our channel. If you don't already know who we are, APLS Group is your trusted source for all things talent and business development. We've been in the business for more than 20 years and are here today to provide you with industry-leading advice to improve your career in business in 15 minutes or less. My name's Paige and I'm APLS Group's VP of Business Development. And today we'll be chatting with coach and facilitator Anne Doster to give you a quick and proven strategies to enhance your coaching skills. As a supervisor, manager, and leader, you know that coaching people is a necessary part of your job, and doing it well can have a positive impact for you, your employees, and your organization. So Anne, thanks for being with me today.
And thank you for having me.
You've worked with individuals and organizations for over 30 years to guide them through leadership and talent development.
That is true, and I have some good war stories, but I'll probably not share them because of the under the umbrella of confidentiality.
Well, we appreciate that. So let's go ahead and get started and let you wow us with your knowledge.
Thank you. Yes, today we're going to talk about those things that are so important to you as a manager. You wear several hats as a manager, and one of them is a coaching hat. So what I want you to be clear on in today's session is what's the difference between when I'm being a manager and when I'm being a coach. I want you to be able to define what a coaching conversation is. And I'm going to give you some tips on how to hold a coaching conversation. There are 4 steps that are really easy to follow and it'll make your life so much easier. So let's look at the definition of a manager. So what is a manager anyway? You know, in your hat as a manager, you provide specialized expertise, you provide the content, you model behavior or skills and other resources to assist employees in improving what we call the status quo, because that's what you're doing as a manager, is just leading the team. You're also the expert. In that role as expert, you present, you sell, you influence. You problem solve, you inspire, you strategize and lead. And when you think about yourself as a manager, a lot of times we think about those managers that have made the biggest impression on us and who have helped us to be effective. So even in your role as expert, you also want to think about, okay, who made a difference in my life? How did they do that? And I would probably say, that is somebody who used some coaching skills. They're probably not trained as a coach, but they're just naturally a coach.
Yes, I would agree with that, Anne. That's very true.
So let's talk about what a coach is. So a coach will bring out the best in people. Think about what our coaches do. And I guess you think about coaches on the basketball court, on the football field, on any sport, but they're out there to bring people together and bring out the best in them so that they can win and win through personal effort. So you're going to really expand their awareness to really help them address the skills and qualities to ensure success. That's what your role is as a manager, is to ensure success. As a coach, you are the trusted advisor. And one of the things we do here is we ask questions and provide feedback. We want to advise and provide perspective. And what's most important, and we'll talk about this throughout today's conversation, is that we listen with a third ear. That means we're listening to the meaning behind the words. So as a coach, I want you to look at this slide particularly, because I want you to look at how we move from to what we move towards. So in the column for moving from, as a manager, we want to move from assuming responsibility for other people's issues. I can tell you, managers tell me a lot of times that people just come to their office and they dump their issues on the manager's desk. And so now you're the one who's responsible for whatever that person should or should not be doing. You know, you're the watchdog or the gatekeeper. And you provide feedback to someone about the impact of his or her style. So it's all pretty much transactional when you're a manager. When you move towards being a coach, look at the difference. Now you're moving towards more of an active listening role or stance. You're asking what we call clarifying questions, and you're helping people deal with the issues directly. What you want at the end of the day is for people to own the process and understand the underlying business value. And we do this by asking them how to reflect on he or she handled the situation and what they might do differently in the future. We're coaching them towards being a better member of your team. So we'll talk about this again. I guess this is one of those things we like to reinforce. The coaching conversation is primarily a medium for all coaching interventions. It's an exchange of information. As I said in the previous slide, we actively listen. We frame our open-ended questions to help people surface, question, and reframe their assumptions. The coaching conversation is an intentional conversation, and it's different from all other business conversations. And I tell people as they're moving into the coaching conversation or preparing for a coaching conversation is that they need to step back and just take some time and breathe and just focus on this particular conversation and sort of get rid of all the noise, that exterior noise that's out there, because this is an intentional conversation. So we use questions to enhance the coaching process. So look at these two styles and look at the types of questions we use. If we're in the managing style, the questions are like this: could you, would you, did you? It's more of telling, it's more problem solving. The coaching conversation is just a little twist. Look at how we change each of those sentences. So you say something like, what could you do? How would you approach this problem? What might you do in the future? So you move from the telling, problem solving style of a manager to the more clarifying discovery questions. And now this is when you're wearing your coaching hat. So let's get started. Here are the helpful hints from today's session. So the first step is, let's get started. Look at these 3 questions that you can ask to start the coaching conversation. And if you look at how the questions are framed, you're putting a lot of responsibility back on the other person. So what would you like to get from today's session? What feels most important to you right now? And one way to close this getting started step is to say, of all the issues that we've discussed, which one is your top priority? So this getting started could take anywhere from a minute to 5 minutes or longer. What you're trying to do is to really get them focused on what's most important for this coaching conversation. 3 easy questions. What would you like to get from today's session? What feels most important to you right now? And of all the issues we've discussed, which one is your top priority? Because you can't really discuss more than one thing at a time. Step 2 is let's gather some information. So here are another 3 key questions to ask. What have you tried or thought of already? Oh man, this will open up a whole source of information for you. It'll help you understand what your direct report has been working on, trying to do. This is before you make any comments on what they should be doing, because that's usually where we go with our coaching hat, manager hat. What resources do you think you'll need? Who else needs to be involved? Because you as a manager are in the driver's seat when you need to get other people involved in this person's problem, issues, or whatever it is that they're trying to address. So you can help facilitate that. Step 3, let's identify the obstacles. This is really important. So have them think about, what are the roadblocks you expect or even know about at this point? Let them talk about that. Remember, you're not problem solving at this point. You're just listening. Another one is who or what is standing in your way. This gives you a lot of information as a manager to understand what this particular direct report is dealing with. And finally, the fourth step, and the most important step, and one that we sometimes forget to do, but it's all about creating accountability, because you want this person to move forward and take charge. So 2 simple questions that you can do at this point. The first one, what did you learn today? So when they answer that question, they will in their own minds be able to go through what it is that they learned. They repeat that to you, and in doing that, they begin to own it. And then you ask the question, how would you like me to hold you accountable for the next steps? Again, you're giving them the responsibility. You both know what your roles are, and this is very, very helpful in clarifying exactly who's responsible, so that they're not leaving this problem on your desk. They're learning from it, they're growing from it, and they're becoming that key member of your team. So the 3 coaching concepts that we talked about today that I hope you understand. What's the difference between managing, wearing your managing hat or your coaching hat? 2 different hats, 2 different hats. And it's really important to understand that sometimes you have to be a manager. Think of situations where, you know, sort of a non-negotiable. We're not going to sit here and do coaching at this point, but we really need to get something done. So you'll be wearing your manager's hat. But when you put on your coaching hat, think about what we just talked about today. What is that coaching conversation? And how can I frame the question so that I can lead the coaching conversation with my direct report, so that they're the ones that are moving forward and have responsibility for making things happen. So that in a nutshell, or how you can have a coaching conversation with a direct report on your team. And I hope these suggestions, and particularly the 4 steps to the coaching conversation, you will find to be most helpful for you as you move forward to coach one of your employees today. And so maybe that's what I should do, is give you a homework assignment to get out there and have a coaching conversation with someone today.
I love that. That is a great idea. And you know, that's something that you can do both on a professional and a personal level as well. So practicing the skills is makes them a whole lot easier for them to just become a habit. So Anne, we really appreciate all of the advice that you've given us today, and are glad that you could be with us on Elevate.
Well, thank you for inviting me to be with you.